Before you start identifying your needs within this category of the stability wheel, you're going to want to check out this introductory video so that you have a general understanding of what we're doing here. For additional support completing the stability wheel, I'm not going to be responding to the comments in these YouTube videos, but you can book a one-on-one session with me on my website. There's a link in the description, or you could check out the Love and Liberation Network. We are an online community of people developing secure attachment while learning how to remove hierarchies from our relationships. Every month we focus on one category of the stability wheel. It gives us just enough time to be able to identify our needs and figure out the structures that we need to implement our needs into our life so our life feels integrated and easeful. We celebrate each other, we help each other brainstorm ideas. If you're looking for that kind of support, there's also a link in the description. Before I help you identify your spiritual needs, it's important to acknowledge how much resistance comes up for many people around the category of spiritual needs, around the topic of spirituality. So many of us have been turned off or traumatized by organized religion, and so it has severed our relationship with spirituality, with spirit. Because really, spirit is all around us. It is an energy. It is life energy. It flows through the human body. It flows through non-human animal bodies. It flows through the plants. It is the sun that is shining. It is the stars in the galaxy. Spirit is all around us. Spirit is responsible for the existence of the entire universe. It's an energy. It's a creative, expansive, loving energy. That is spirit. And so what organized religions have attempted to do is to systemize relationship with spirit. But what happens when human beings start systematically facilitating relationship to spirit for the population at large? Well, the human ego gets in the way, these hierarchical ways of being in relationship with each other that has been so normalized through violence over time has tainted organized religion. There's so many abuses of power, but even the hierarchical structure in itself, where people rely on a single person to be their communicator to spirit, it's just, it's a horrible idea. It's dangerous. Because even if people claim to be super enlightened or whatever, I mean, that's cute to claim you're enlightened, but in my experience, the patriarchy is literally everywhere. It's everywhere. And so these people who are leading these spiritual organizations who are cis straight men, they just have so many blind spots that their consciousness is unaware of, but they live in this delusion of I am the messenger between God and the people. And so there's not a strong system of accountability and a lot of harm gets caused. I mean, not to mention shame is a deep part of Catholicism. Shame is antithetical to spirit, meaning shame is not a spiritual practice. It's not a spiritual energy. It's an energy of control, manipulation. And a lot of these big religions, because they promise you relationship with spirit, they entice people in, and then they end up being a control or manipulation or even oppression tactic. So yeah, it makes sense. A huge portion of the population has been deeply turned off. I have been really deeply turned off to religion with Christianity and with Buddhism because of the human culture that that creates it. So we're not talking about organized religion. And by the way, the idea that God is A human, and B, a man is laughable because, that's just human supremacy and the patriarchy in action. The projected idea of what God even is or who that is, as if it were a person, that is a projection of the human mind. It is not truth. Part of me is if you believe that, I respect that. And then I'm is that true? I don't know. It's not, I don't know. I would just invite you to take a look at that. If you believe that God is a man, that's a place to look. I invite you to check your ego, actually. And I have goosebumps saying this because I'm like, oh no, it's going to land the wrong way with people. Yeah, it might be intense to hear, and that is my gift to you. If it doesn't resonate with you, I respect that. You don't have to look, but a deep invitation to take a deep look. Cool. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's start identifying some spiritual needs. I'm going to share with you some spiritual needs for myself that I have identified. I want to share them as a guide to you to inspire ideas in you. You don't need to copy these down word for word or like to the T, because everybody's relationship with spirituality is different, and the way that folks connect with spirit is going to be unique to them. Spirituality is a one-on-one relationship. It's between you and spirit is so expansive and so abundant that there are literally so many possibilities of like what it looks like to be in relationship with spirit. So here are the things that I've identified for myself. I'll start with the daily practices. I have a daily spiritual need to sing, to dance, and to practice gratitude. Yeah, I said practice gratitude, and I'll get into why I said that after I explain the first two things. So singing and dancing is a celebration of life. It is celebrating that I am a human being who is like having a heartbeat and a human experience on this magical planet. Like the odds of us existing on this planet with all this oxygen and water and just like all of the little details that had to come into balance in order for life to exist is so magical, and so it's such a gift. I don't take it for granted. So singing and dancing is one of the ways that I express gratitude for life. It's like honoring the life energy that is moving through my vessel. Singing helps me clear up energy as well, which, when my energy is more cleared, then I can be more easily attuned to spirit as well. And with dancing, it's not like this like formal structure where I must like put on my jogging clothes and like go to this dancing class or whatever. It's literally just like moving my body. It could be to music, it doesn't have to be to music, but it's really helpful for me to anchor myself in setting an intention to have a daily practice of singing and dancing, because it's really helpful feedback to me if there's a day where I'm not dancing or where I'm not singing. It's helpful feedback. So it's like, okay, where am I overstretched? Where am I overextended to where I'm not able to tap into joy today, where I'm not able to be in relationship with spirit? Maybe I'm depressed, or maybe I'm actively experiencing trauma. But if I'm not singing or dancing, it just helps me raise a red flag of like, ooh, what is going on to where I'm out of balance? It's really helpful for me to notice that. And I'm not perfect about it. So again, it's a helpful feedback loop that helps me anchor into getting my needs met. The reason I have a daily gratitude practice, and I say practice because the way that the world is currently organized through hierarchical relationships, systems of oppression, white supremacist, hetero, capitalist, patriarchy. There are more things I could name, I will not right now. Ooh. The world is organized through scarcity. Capitalism is a system that assigns value through scarcity, and it artificially creates a sense of scarcity in order to sustain itself. So when we look at global capitalism, I mean like the global world order is organized through scarcity. And so of course, the human condition is that we are inseparable from our environment, no matter like how we perceive this. We might think, oh yeah, I live in a patriarchal capitalist society, but I don't subscribe to that. Well, I hate to tell it to you, but the idea of separateness is an illusion, and you are literally so connected to your environment that you might not be consciously aware of how you internalize the capitalist patriarchy, but on a subconscious level, like you are connected to your environment and it seeps in. There's no way out. The only way out is to accept that it lives within you, that it influences you, and from there, from that place of acceptance and acknowledging reality, then you can make conscious choices about how to pivot back into alignment with your values. And so practicing gratitude is an energy of abundance. And it's a practice because it does not come easily in this world that is designed around scarcity. So, the multi-dimensional reality of the universe is that it's not black or white. It's just not. You might say, oh, I had a good day today or I had a bad day, but that's never really true, not on a spiritual level, because a day is nothing but a series of tiny moments. And so, with this practice of gratitude, what we're looking for is like no matter how much scarcity is around you, because it will always be around you because that's the environment, love. It is a practice to look for the little pieces of abundance in your life, to express that gratitude, that abundance energy. Because, yeah, it might be true that like you're super duper struggling, because, like, unfortunately, that is how the world is designed. The only way to like not be struggling is to dominate others, is to be on the top of the pyramid, you know? So if you're struggling, like, it is a deeply spiritual practice to just look for the tiniest things you can possible to express gratitude. For example, I am so grateful to be alive today. I'm so grateful that my body is in relatively good working condition, that I'm able to feed myself, and I'm grateful I have shelter over my head. I'm grateful I'm in good health. I'm able to ride my bike and take myself places. Like, so much gratitude to this body. Usually when I'm riding my bike, I love to bring my conscious awareness to the fact that, like, A, I'm not using extractive fossil fuels from the earth. So it's like I'm respecting life in that way. And, like, you know, I don't mean to shame anyone for participating in that system of extraction, because, you know, no ethical consumption under capitalism. It's hard to focus on individual actions when really we need systemic change. But for me, that's like one area where I can be like, oh, so much gratitude. I'm not participating in a system of violence right now. And so much gratitude for this freaking body, because instead of like extracting from the earth and guzzling all that gas, I am creating the energy that moved me from point A to point B. Like, that is so mind blowing, and it's such a blessing. I know my able body is temporary because, like, most of us will age unless you die prematurely, which, like, I don't think most of us plan on. So, yeah, being in an able body is always a temporary state of being. And so there are always opportunities to practice gratitude and just, like, consciously connecting to this truth that, like, wow, I have the ability to see and to hear and to smell and to taste and to move, and, like, ugh, what a blessing to have this sense of autonomy, to be able to indulge in the senses, which to me is also a spiritual practice, being in relationship with the environment, celebrating the human existence. It's such a blessing, such a blessing. Creating a consistent practice of gratitude creates new patterns, neuroplasticity, new neurons get fired in the brain that start creating these new neural pathways to help you start seeking out where there is abundance in your life, because abundance and scarcity exist side by side. So just tapping into the multidimensional truth of the human experience and being able to recognize and uplift the little things that are worth giving some love and appreciation to. Another spiritual need of mine that I have identified for myself is just like setting an intention to have 2 medicinal journeys with psilocybin, with magic mushrooms. My experience with mushrooms has been deeply spiritual and deeply medicinal. Yeah, like putting this living being that is an ancestor inside of my body, it gives me access to dimensions that, like, I am limited to within the human vessel without intervention. I know some folks are able to like have these deeply spiritual experiences without using psychedelics, and I respect and admire that. I'm not quite there yet. Not consistently. Maybe like on accident sometimes, and I'm like, whoa. But to set that intention, for me, it's twice a year. So it's like July and December. Those are the 2 checkpoints. And every time I am in relationship with mushrooms, I'm able to basically have a reality check, especially if I'm experiencing trauma or like wanting to shed some old patterns that aren't serving me anymore. The mushrooms give me more direct access to spirit and truth. I have so much clarity um, after the session, the medicine session. So, um, yeah, they're just helpful checkpoints for me to reground back into reality so I don't stray too far away. Part of my spiritual needs is a consistent meditation practice. I set an intention of a range between 4 and 7 times a week because I don't want to beat myself up for not doing it like consistently every day, but I want to celebrate the times when I do. So, haha, abundance. But if I'm meditating less than 4 times a week, that is helpful feedback for me as a red flag of like, oh, baby, are you depressed? Are you stressed? Are you experiencing trauma? What's going on? Because it's reflecting to me that I'm just simply out of balance. And I want to clarify that when I'm talking about meditation as my meditation practice, I'm not talking about that commodified version of meditation that gets sold to the mass public of like you sit still in silence and that's basically it. That's not what I'm referring to. It could be that, but it looks so many ways. For me, meditation is about slowing down, setting a clear container where I'm able to go inwards. It doesn't have to be in silence, but oftentimes being in silence is really helpful. I might even cook in silence because otherwise, if I'm cooking, I like to listen to music or a podcast, or maybe I'll talk on the phone with a friend or someone. But sometimes I'll intentionally choose to do something that I would normally do with music in my ears, to just do it in silence. And that is definitely a meditative experience for me because for me, meditation is about tapping into self-awareness. It's about self-attunement, creating the space to attune to oneself, which requires slowing down. And so that's why it's so important for me to at least 4 times a week create little spaces where I can get attuned with myself, because self-attunement is a huge part of secure attachment. If you are not attuned to yourself, how could you know what you're feeling? And your feelings communicate to you what you're needing. So it just puts you in the danger zone. It puts you in this like autopilot state of being, which might interfere with your intentions and desires in your relationships and in your life. There's 2 other things in my stability wheel as part of my spiritual practices. The first thing is orienting myself in time and space, not through the Gregorian calendar. Like, who is Greg? Like, I literally don't understand the Gregorian calendar. But instead, I orient my life using the stars with the lunar cycles. I could go deep onto this topic, but it is deeply spiritual. Astrology in general is so spiritual to me. So that is how I orient my life. Like, it is my compass. Yeah, because astrology is all about understanding, like, literally the energies that exist within the universe, and how they're in literal constant change. Like, impermanence is one of the truths of the universe. And so being able to understand how these energies that are so much bigger than us but are definitely interdependent with us and have an impact on us, it's nice to know. Like, yeah, and just moment to moment, like, what is the current environmental energy right now, or galactic energy, and how is it impacting me? Really helps me to understand my experiences and my life better, helps me prepare the same way you would prepare for the weather. Like, if you know it's going to rain on Saturday, you're not going to plan a picnic on Saturday. You know what I'm saying? If I know Mercury is going to retrograde, I might alter my plans. Like, it's just helpful. And part of my spiritual practice is to have lunar ceremonies. So on the full moon, I have a ceremony, and on the new moon, I have a ceremony. New moons are great times for setting an intention and planting seeds. Full moons are times when the subconscious or the shadows really come to the surface. They're times of reflection. I incorporate celebration, another practice of abundance, into my full moon rituals. helps me digest my experience. Because otherwise, within capitalism, life can move so quickly, and it's easy to get misattuned from yourself or to constantly feel like you're behind, or you're not doing enough. But for me to slow down and like make intentional space where I'm able to like pull a tarot card and communicate with the universe that way, like through energy, um, and like make some time to journal and reflect on like the reading and like myself and like just what has happened within the last lunar cycle. It's so deeply grounding and like clarifying for me so that I'm able to live my life with more intention and groundedness. The last spiritual need for myself that I have identified is to be in non extractive relationships. I'm talking about symbiotic relationships. And by the way, the system of capitalism by design is not about symbiotic relationship. It is extractive in nature because with the little pyramid scheme that it is, usually it's the people at the top that get to dictate how your labor is used and what you're producing with your labor. And they usually get the majority of the product that your labor creates. And so by nature, by design, it is extractive. Um, so for me, like that's just one example of what it means to be in like a symbiotic relationship. It's like not working a 40-hour work week, for example. It's owning my own labor, but it's also showing up in my relationships with other people. I mean, relationship anarchy, that's what it's all about. It's about like not claiming over ownership or possession over another person. It's like, yeah, leaving that parental dynamic where one person is at the center of your life and they tell you what you can or cannot do. I mean, they also support you in other ways too, but like for me, it is a spiritual practice to where my relationships with the world around me, with myself, with other people, with other beings, it's a direct one-on-one relationship between me and that person. There's no outside entity that is interfering or manipulating my personal relationships in my life. It's all about identifying where personal boundaries overlap. That is abundance. That is a place of love and respect and mutuality and symbiosis. So I could go deep, deep, deep on this topic, but it's literally what all of my work is about. So like check out my blog if you want to go deeper, and check out my other videos too. There's so many resources that I have created and that I will continue to create. So yeah, check it out. Dang, I did forget one huge thing, which like is a daily practice of mine too, which is being in relationship with the earth. Every morning I take my dog for a walk and I literally stop to smell the flowers. Like very consistently. It's a practice of slowing down, of being attuned to the world around me, indulging in the senses, feeling the soft, fleshy petals tickle my skin. It almost feels like a kiss against my fleshy skin. Smelling, just admiring the beauty, admiring the life that is existing and manifesting through the plants. I love seeing the way that the flowers and the plant life like reaches towards the sun. Ugh, it's just deeply spiritual to me. It's a way, like a clear way to like just notice how life energy moves through these different beings in this material world that we're living in. So being in relationship to the earth, I've observed a clear correlation between when I'm depressed, I'm out of relationship with the earth. You know, we live in these houses, we wear shoes, which are all, you know, they prevent us from having skin contact with the earth. So I could go so deep into all these topics, but yeah, I mean, it is possible to co-regulate with the earth energetically. It can soothe your nervous system and regulate you if you have skin-to-skin contact, be it with water, be it with the land. But the earth is a living being, just like humans are, just like so many things are. So being in relationship with the earth through gardening or foraging or stopping to smell the flowers, looking at the sunset, whatever it is a daily need of mine. Otherwise, I will literally get depressed. So if your relationship to spirit is in your stretch zone. Maybe it's something like a trauma you're still recovering from. For me, it took me a long time. It took me 21 years to get to the point where I was like, oh, wait, what if I could have a relationship with spirit outside of religion? Like, it didn't even occur to me before. I was just like angry and like atheist and like, yeah. Um, but when you're trying to develop secure attachment, being in relationship to spirit is being in relationship to life. It is an anchor because people are going to come and go from your life all the time, whether they're friends or romantic partners or like your coworkers or whatever. Impermanence is the law of the universe. Impermanence, it's how the world works. So for me, being in relationship with spirit has been deeply anchoring because it's the one thing that is consistently there, that I have all these different outlets I can use to connect with spirit. Yeah, so throughout all the other changes that are constantly happening in my life, my consistent relationship with spirit, it's reliable and it's anchoring.